Welcome to The Liberation Effect with me, your host, Helen Villas. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Liberation Effect. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Charlotte. Charlotte is looking to kind of understand the why of the behaviour from her parents towards her. She understands the what, but not necessarily the why. And also there's a number of things that you raised, Charlotte, isn't there, that you were looking to kind of understand and maybe access. I'm going to just hand it over to you. What is it that you are looking to get from our time together today?
Oh, hi, Helen. Thank you for inviting me to this. So I struggle with switching off and relaxing because of how my mum basically didn't allow us to relax. We always had to look busy. And even though I'm now no contact, be 3 years this September, I still struggle to do that. It's like my brain is just whirling. I can't switch off. And I also struggle to cry. I've trained myself to not show emotions to my mum when she was shouting or gaslighting or belittling me. So then I wasn't showing her that she was hurting me, even though it probably backfired on me because it would have made her worse and got more harder on me. So I kind of struggle. I can well up, but then I stop myself straight away.
Okay.
So I need your expertise.
Well, that's a really interesting thing. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to both the being busy and the crying, not being able to cry. Which one would you like to start with? I'm going to throw it back to you.
Do you want to do the crying one?
So what would you like? I'm going to give you to it.
I'm not used to that. I'd like to do the crying one.
I was going to say, how does that feel? How did it feel
feels
to be
weird.
Right?
I'm not used to it.
What's the emotion?
I feel very much on the spot, and I don't know what to say. I'm kind of a bit flustered with this because I'm not used to being asked. I'm always used to being told and controlled. So that feels weird for me. It's new learning skills.
But did it seem scary? Yeah.
It does actually, because I feel not in control, and I'm not used to it either. What should be natural to everybody isn't. So it feels very much I'm out of place with it.
So out of place with having to make a decision for yourself?
Yes, because I've never had that around my parents. I've always been told what to do, where to go, what to wear. Every inch of my life was completely controlled.
So when you think about your autonomy, as in that decision making or that freedom to do what pleases you, how does that make you react emotionally and physically?
I don't know who I am as a person. I only know what my mum has told me who I am. I'm kind of discovering who I am. Like now I can put colour in my hair and have colour on my nails because I was never allowed to do that. I was always shamed. But I do struggle. I have no idea who I actually am. And it's kind of learning how to take control of my life again and do things for me. Even with hobbies and interests, I don't know what I like because I've always been told what I can and what I can't do.
You know, it's so interesting that you've raised this now, because today I've got this membership sort of recovery program called The Hub. And on The Hub today, we did a coaching call and I was talking about just this, that identity is the absolute key to healing everything else. So if we build a really robust identity, we naturally build boundaries. And then when we build boundaries and we learn all our values and our belief systems, things we like, dislike, preferences in relationship to others, but also to ourselves, then when those things are challenged or contradicted, we can't do anything but notice it. And so therefore then remove ourselves from those situations. And building your identity is going to be an absolutely crucial part of healing from this abuse. And there was something you said there, which I thought was also really interesting, which was that you said, build my life again, which implies that you had one before. And is that true or not true?
I did have a life before, but it was what my mum wanted that life to be. So she would control my purchases, what I wore, my holidays, my days off, my job,
To what age?
my partners.
Jeez.
Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, to what age was that she was doing that?
Up to 47 when I went no contact.
Right. So controlling your job, your days off, your holidays, your partners.
Money.
So absolutely
What I
money.
spent. Yeah. What I could
Could
wear
you give
in
us an
clothes,
idea?
hairstyles.
So up until 47.
Yeah. So, for example, I would
Go on.
try a new hairstyle or a new colour, and then we would meet up and see her, and straight away I'd get the look, and she would say it would look trashy or cheap, or I'd look like a whore, and it doesn't suit you, or it would make my face too fat and round because I've lost 5 stone since going no contact, but it was always about my weight and putting me down, which made me even more self-conscious, and I couldn't have boundaries. I couldn't say to her, I don't want you to talk about my body, because she was always, I've given birth to you. I have every right to talk about your life and what you do, so I could never say no to her or say I kind of withdrawed myself, and then she would see me as sulking then because I didn't want to talk about something.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I've given birth to you. And what that does, what does that tell you, that phrase? I've given birth.
That she controls me. I know you better than you know yourself.
Yeah, that awful bloody phrase. Take it a step further, that she controls you, but what else?
I don't know.
That she owns you.
Yeah, yeah.
There is total and utter ownership in that statement. I gave birth to you. I therefore have the right to treat you, comment on you in any way I see fit. You are not a separate human being to me, and I rather get to decide how you live in the world.
Yeah.
And if you disagree with that, it makes you, what did you say, sulky? What else would it make you if you said no?
Yeah, I should say I was sulking, or falling out with her, or being miserable, or being moody because I wasn't giving her the response what she wanted, when actually I was hurt.
Right. So when you had a reaction to her abuse of you, which that is abuse, you were blamed again for your emotional responses.
Yeah.
Coming back to your question about crying, when you had an emotional response, it was treated with contempt, with disdain, derision, dismissal, denial, minimization. It was mockery. It was used as a way to humiliate you.
Absolutely.
To shame you. So
I ruined her day if I started crying. Like when I was a child, she used to take photographs like you do. And back then, children don't pose like what they did now. So if I didn't do the perfect pose for the perfect family photo, which you could show her friends and family, she used to make me cry. And then when I started crying, she called it a letterbox cry. And then I ruined her day. And then we had to go straight home from wherever we were because I ruined her day, go to bed with no dinner. And then I was like stonewalled, for days over it because I ruined her day because I didn't do the perfect pose. And I used to hate having my photographs taken with her stood in front of it. I've not many photos, but when you see photos, I've got my hands in front of me, holding me, trying to almost like a barrier to kind of protect myself. And I was doing that at like 6, 7, and 8 years old.
Gosh. So, wow. Clever little you knew to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So can you just explain what a letterbox cry is? I've not heard that before.
So basically, when you wail, your mouth opens wide because you're absolutely, well, you're sobbing, in other words, and she didn't probably want to deal with me sobbing or getting upset because of what she said. So then she would shame me and then punish me even further by ruining her day because we didn't do the perfect photo.
So hang on. So you're so distressed, you're whining and sobbing and like that kind of breathe, like
Yeah.
that kind of crying.
Yeah.
And
Because
her
as a child,
response,
all I wanted to do was make her happy. And I couldn't understand that I
right.
wasn't making her happy, but making her angry.
So her response to you crying was all the shaming, but not just that. It was to take it personally, internalize it, and make it about the impact it had on her.
Yeah.
Instead of, have you got children, Charlotte?
No.
No. Have you been around other children? Do you? No. Okay. But imagine for a moment
Yeah.
you saw a child in that level of distress. What would your instinctive reaction be for that child?
To cuddle it and tell it
Right.
it's all right and tell me what's wrong and protect it
Right.
and even kneel to the same height, so then
Right.
you're at one with them, and tell me what's wrong, and even say sorry that I caused that reaction. I mean, I'd be heartbroken if I caused that to someone else to react like that.
Right. So your instinctive reaction, despite having no children, not being around children, not having lots of exposure to them, your instinctive reaction is to attune. That's what you've just described as attunement. You've got down to their level. You're reassuring them. You're trying to help them feel safe. You're kind of doing like a co-regulation where you're allowing their emotions to exist, but also letting them know that they're safe at the same time. Right? You attune to the
Yeah.
child. You're asking them what's the problem is and what they're scared of or upset about. And instead, notice the difference then. That your mother with her own child, who is so distressed they're crying in this letterbox cry, her reaction is, you've ruined my day. But also she's, from what you said there, pushed you to that point of crying. Okay? So she's provoked you to cry and then punished you for doing what she was looking for you to do in the first place.
So do you think she was provoking to get that reaction then?
Well, you said she'd make me cry.
Yeah. Because I wasn't doing the perfect photo and pose.
Right. And so what would she say to you that would make you, or what would she do or say that would make you then end up crying?
She'd start kind of like back shouting at me to say, stand up straight and move your arms here and do your legs this. And so then you had to look kind of almost like military perfect. And then if I still didn't get it or the perfect smile, then she'll start shouting, and then I'd start getting upset over it because I used to dread getting the photographs taken because it would happen every single time. And then she would start shouting at me saying, oh, forget it, you've ruined my day, let's just go home. And then I was absolutely so upset that I'd ruined my parents' day and our family outing because I couldn't do the perfect photo. So I always saw it as me as the problem and must try harder to make my mum happy.
So she told you you had a huge control of her feelings, of her behavior, how she treated you. It's interesting, isn't it? I always find this such a paradox, such a contradiction, that the narcissistic parent will teach you that you have full control over how they treat you. Meanwhile, it's a complete illusion that you have any control at all. Because if you had full control, they would treat you well, right?
Absolutely.
So the kind of, I'm intrigued to know this. The reason I want to know this is because I want to understand what her gain was. And I'm intrigued to know what kind of situations this sort of thing would happen in. Where would you be? Like where the photo was ruined or Yeah, what
Probably
environments?
a day out somewhere. So we might have gone to a museum or a stately home or something like that. And then she wanted to have her photographs there because, I mean, we're talking 80s, so it was before
Yeah.
mobile phones. So you had to get all the photographs printed. So she wanted it to be kind of like the perfect family. And then we would have driven most of the day for us to just drive straight home because the day had been ruined.
And she would blame you that it was Helen. How many times
And
was there
then all
photo
the
like that?
Oh, every single time, to the point that I absolutely hated, to the point that even as an adult, when we used to go out for the day and she said, "Oh, let's take a photograph," and I'll just say no. I just said, "Oh, I don't feel good about myself," or "I don't want one." And she would even then push because she also, we used to do mum and me holidays together, which she completely controlled. And she took a photograph of me in a bikini, and I had an eating disorder back then, and my self-esteem was literally on the floor. So I didn't feel good about myself, and I didn't want the photograph of the bikini. And she kind of pushed my boundary to say, "Go on, I won't show it to anybody." So I allowed her to do it. And then we'll go into my grandma's and her partner's house, and she got the photos out. And I said, "Please do not show anybody my photograph." And she just looked at me and kind of did a smirk. And then these photographs went round everybody. And I was just sat there, literally bright red, tears in my eyes. My grandma's boyfriend were like, "Oh gosh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do with this." So he was embarrassed. And I remember just sat there. I just remember my mum just looking at me like she was studying my reaction. And it was almost like I don't know if it was a power trip for her or she'd caused that control on me and that reaction. But she would do stuff like that. And I hadn't realized until I got no contact that that was a boundary. But my mum used to bulldoze boundaries. Boundaries meant nothing to her.
Do you know what? You asked me a minute ago, did I think that she did it deliberately? What you've just said now has made me highly suspicious that yes, she did. Because look at her looking to get a reaction from you over the bikini photo. She's deliberately creating distress in you. That is horrific. Horrific. When you think of it like that. How do you feel?
Yeah, because it affects my self-esteem and my confidence.
Let me pull you back. I asked you how you felt. How does it feel? Because there's a very big difference between your response, I think, was my confidence, my self-esteem, but you didn't actually give me a feeling or even, so I wonder about that, like what you
I
actually
was
felt.
distraught, embarrassed, hurt that she could do that to somebody, because you always think as your mum and dad would always love you, protect you, and always want the best for you. And I'm getting the opposite of that. I suppose I asked her not to do something and she did it anyway.
So
So
with
I
me
can't
saying,
trust her.
no, absolutely not. But with me saying to you that it's made me very suspicious she was actually doing it deliberately. She was trying to get a reaction. She was trying to find a way to humiliate you further. How does that feel to know that or to think that might be a situation, a possibility?
I struggle with describing my emotions.
Yeah,
I can tell you about the scenario,
I
but how
know.
I actually feel, I just feel empty, just like blank. There's nothing there. It's like I've got to really think. And then when I think, my brain just goes blank.
I am not in the least bit surprised because look at how your emotions were weaponized against you. So what you learned to do, and you said it at the beginning, you learned to like stop showing any emotion. And so you've learned to disconnect completely from emotion. And one of the comments or sentences in your application was about being able to move on. And one of the things that we have to do is feel the pain, the grief, the hurt, the disappointment, the real horror of what the actual experience was. And what I'm hearing is you do what we call intellectualizing, which is where you're able to tell me the scenario, you can rationalize it, you can explain all the behavior, you can use all the language beautifully, but you can't get into the emotional space because it's too threatening. And I think the reason that you might struggle to cry, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but I wonder if it's because emotions feel intensely threatening to you.
Yeah, because I suppose I feel vulnerable with it.
Okay.
I can be attacked if I put a wall up. I even feel like with how I talk and stuff, I've started to learn to use my hands more, but I feel like my face doesn't give anything away. It's very, I've kind of like emotionless with it. I don't feel like
Okay.
I'm very expressing.
Yeah, I understand. So you feel like you're not, your physical, your outward physical experience isn't representative of your inner experience.
No.
But your inner experience is, you said, empty. Is it always empty, or is it just talking about this
No,
stuff?
because I do experience happiness and fun. Like I love being like a kid and messing around with my partner because I've never had, I was an only child, so I've never had playmates, and I was kept away from other families and friends. So I was never allowed stayovers. I've never had friends over at my house for dinner or lunch or anything like that. So I'm not used to mixing with other people. And I suppose when things don't go right for me, I keep myself away and deal with it on my own, because I've always had to deal with it on my own because I haven't had anybody there for me to kind of help me and support me with it.
So with your current partner, you play and you're able to access happiness and fun, joy.
Absolutely.
What about
Absolutely. It's
sadness?
been yeah, I mean, he's been brilliant. We've talked so much about it, and he was the one who actually told me, I think your mum's got narcissistic traits, or she's a narcissist, because he was
Wow.
obviously comparing my family dynamic to his own, and I had
Right.
no idea what even it was, and I had to Google it to see what it was, and then suddenly you go down that rabbit hole of everything makes sense, and start reading your books, listening to your podcasts, and it's just like, oh my God. The amount of times I've pulled over for my partner, and I'm just like, listen to this, 'cause I'm just like, this is me,
Yeah.
not actually aware that it was me, because
Yeah.
to me it's been normal family life. So why would I question it? Because I've been
Right.
told that it's normal, and we're a special family, and this is what we do.
You're special. Oh my God. The what's the word?
My partner hates
Superiority,
that word.
grandiosity, there's an ickiness. There's a, what is it that I'm feeling? Like I can't find the word. But it's like an enmeshment, a suffocation, a cloying separation, and we're special and everybody else has no idea. And the fact that you're unhappy with it is because of you, not because of the environment that you're in. Your reaction to the environment is the problem rather than the environment itself. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So with your partner, you can experience happiness, fun, sadness, grief, loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you cry with your partner?
I can, but I stop myself. It's the only time I really let it go is when we had a miscarriage a couple of years ago,
Right.
and I was in a complete, well, we both were in a complete mess with it. And I kind of expected my mum to step up a gear and come round and see if I was all right or anything, and she never did any of that. And then the first time we met up after it happened, she said, and you thought we wanted to be grandparents anyway.
Oh.
And she just turned round at my dad, and my dad just looked at my mum and just said, yeah. And I just went into kind of like fawn response of, is she joking? Is it serious? Where you can't joke about something like that. And that was the first thing she said to me with that.
Oh, Charlotte, I'm so sorry. That is fucking disgusting. So you've just experienced a miscarriage. I hate that word, by the way. I really hate it. So I'm going to change my language. So you've just experienced a pregnancy loss,
Yeah.
and her response, the first thing that she says to you when she sees you is as if we want to be grandparents anyway.
And I
That's
just went
evil.
into freeze response. And like my partner said at the time, you should have got out of the car, because I was in their car at the time. And he just said, you should have stopped the car and got out. But I didn't know what to do. I was kind of
Oh,
panicking because I thought I didn't know how to take it. And I just remember
what did
saying,
you think that you should, how did you think you were meant to take it?
well, at first I was thinking, is it a joke? And then I thought, well, you wouldn't joke about something like that. Then I was kind of thinking, am I overthinking that she means it different to what she said? And then I thought, well, it can't be. So then my response was, well, good job I lost it then. And then didn't say anything to her for like when we ended up going out for the day, because I was still heavily bleeding. I was still wearing an adult nappy at the time, and because it was only a week after it happened. But yeah, that was my mother's response to it. And then we never fell pregnant again after that.
Yeah. And so I just want to really validate how disgusting it is that she said that your father agreed with her, that you then were kind of sort of felt obliged to spend the rest of the day while still bleeding, almost having colluded with their narrative, like almost there's a self-betrayal in that, right? There's but even a betrayal of the baby, and really noticing the betrayal of your grief in the collusion, but also a survival.
Yeah.
Because what I heard you do was saying, I couldn't tell if it was a joke or a this or that. There is nothing funny in that at all. There is no place on this earth where that is appropriately funny or ever. I just, it beggars belief that she thought it was appropriate on it, or felt that entitled to say that sort of a thing. And what I heard you doing was that self-gaslighting thing of my emotional response is wrong. And that might also tap into all the other stuff, that the crying stuff that we talked about, that the idea that your emotional response is wrong because she's convinced you she's not being unfair or unkind, or that it's your response, but also the danger that represents too. That were you to have gone, that's a horrible thing to say, why would you say it? What would she have done?
She would have got angry and probably ended up with an argument, even though I was in my 40s and I should have had every right to have gone, stop the car, I need to get out. Even now, I'm so scared of her. I'm scared of saying no. I'm scared of the boundaries. Even though we know contact, I still have that fear. And I'm scared of the threats, because as a child, I was always afraid that if I didn't do what she asked me to do, it was her house, her rules. She used to say to me as a child that you'll end up on the streets and being sexually attacked by a tramp, as she called it. So I always had that fear that I
Why
had to
would she
do
say that to
exactly,
you?
because she was scaring me that I had to do what she wanted me to do as a child. So she might have, I don't know, wanted me to do some housework or something like that. So if I didn't obey her as such and do exactly what she wants, she would come out with threats by basically, because as a child, you've no money, you've no control. So that was something what she could go for the jugulars, and I'll take all this away from you.
How old are we talking when she first did that threat about the homeless person?
Probably 6, 7, up to about 15.
At 6 years old? For non-compliance, she said to you, if you don't do what I tell you to do, you're going to be sexually assaulted by a tramp on the street because I'll kick you
Yeah.
out.
Basically.
Zoom out from me a moment. Like, step back from you in that situation. Imagine that happening and you watching that happen. You watch a mother telling their child, their 6-year-old child, that if they don't do what they say, if you don't do what I say, I will put you on the street and a tramp's going to rape you. What do you think?
It's horrifying. They need arresting.
Right. What do you
Because
feel?
that child can't do anything.
No, and
And I'm
feel?
struggling again.
That's all right. It's fine.
I feel disgusted. I feel angry.
Excellent.
Like
Good.
I hate her for doing what she's done to me. I'll never forgive her.
Okay, good. Anger is good.
I wish I stood up for myself more, but I know now I couldn't have done. You know, it was
No.
I had my father who enabled her, so it was a triangulation of a no-win battle.
And it wasn't safe to. And you were the only child. And so without another sibling, all the spotlight is on you. There's no hiding. There's no shared experience. There's no, that lonely kind of only child experience in these family systems is very real. And I've talked about this on a previous episode. And when it came out, there were so many people talking about their own experience as an only child, in that it was so validating to hear other only children talking about that kind of like loneliness and the isolation and the triangulation. And so there's something very important about not going back and wishing you had been different, because you did what was right and safe in the time. And instead of trying to kind of go back and turn the clock back and wish you had been different, perhaps you could shift that and say, thank you for keeping me safe, to your younger self. And then and then move it to your mother's behavior and think around, if you want anything to be different, it'd be her behavior or you being removed from her care.
Absolutely.
So going back to 6-year-old you, or witnessing someone else saying this to a 6-year-old, and I asked you what you thought, and you said horrifying, and then I asked you how it felt, and you said you're struggling, and then you said disgust, anger, I'll never forgive her. Those are good, strong emotions and appropriate emotions. Often anger, in fact, I would probably say always anger. Anger is the agency of change. It's powerful, it's empowering, it makes us do stuff, it makes us move, it makes us, it feels good to be angry about something. But what it often also is a mask for other feeling: hurt, grief, fear, loneliness, loss, all of those different things. And if I say that to you, can you notice anything under the anger mask of those words that might resonate or apply to you?
Don't know, I'm struggling again.
That's fine. Then let me ask you to go to your body. Do you have any sensations in your body right now when we think about
like my chest feels tight.
Okay, tight.
I can tell I'm stressed with it.
Okay, good. So that is an emotion. Okay, so when you say it feels tight, whereabouts in your chest is it?
Like my actual chest. So it feels like it's difficult to get a full breath. It feels like someone's sat on your chest.
Okay, so it's heavy, pressing down on your chest. You can't get a deep breath. Is it in your lungs or is it on top of your chest? Because you said both kind
on top
of
of my chest. So exactly where your hands are. Yeah.
Where my hands are. So I'm just kind of mirroring it. So if anybody's watching on YouTube, they'll be able to see where you're feeling it. So it's right here and it's pressing down. If it was an object or a person or a being of any description, what would it be?
My mother, probably.
Probably or definitely?
Definitely, probably. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, probably. Okay. What's the difficulty with the commitment there? Is there a fear of getting it wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. For who is that fear? You or me?
Fear for me upsetting you.
Okay. What are you worried about I will do if you change your mind, get it wrong?
You'll get angry with me. You'll fall out with me and you won't want anything to do with me. So I have that fear of being abandoned. I usually go, I go with the flow. So if people ask me if I want to do something, I'll go, yeah, I want to do it, even if I don't want to, because I'm scared of offending.
Okay. So your fear is that if you say to me something you don't think I want to hear, I'm going to get angry and reject you and abandon you.
Yeah.
That I will just walk away from this recording and never contact you again.
But then I'll overthink of, should I have said this? Should I have done that? Could I have changed it differently?
Okay. Let me ask you something. Never mind the fact that I'm a therapist. I'm not your therapist, but I am, in this context, somebody with knowledge that is therapeutic knowledge and whatever. So there is a responsibility, I suppose, of a kind, right? Let me ask you, what kind of a human being, never mind being in my job role, what kind of a human being would react to somebody's sharing of their internal thought processes, their vulnerability, their experience, by saying, well, you said the wrong thing, I'm going, and hanging up and leaving?
Somebody who's aggressive, harsh, and not a nice person.
Okay. Who is that person?
Probably my mum.
Right.
I said probably again.
Right. It sounds like it's your mum. Well, it could be anybody. The thing is, Charlotte, is that you are the expert of you. You can't give me a wrong answer. I can give you a wrong suggestion. You can't give me a wrong answer. Right? Because even if you and I then came back to this conversation in 2 weeks' time and you went, actually, it wasn't that it was my mother on my chest, it was this thing, but I didn't realize it. Oh, cool. So we can find out more. Why did you think it was your mother? What was going on there? What's the assumption? There's no wrong answer in it. Okay? But if I was the sort of person who reacted to you giving me something I'm not expecting to hear as a result of my question, if I was the sort of person that would just get up and be angry, first of all, be angry first, and then abandon you, that would make me an intensely dangerous human being, just generally. Never mind as a therapist, it made me really dangerous as a therapist. So if we come back and look at where your kind of potential pattern is to assume that everyone is going to react the same way as your mother, what would it tell you if they were to react the same way as your mother?
I think probably because I've only experienced my parents, because I was kept away from others, as acting like they are, that I do kind of probably presume that everybody's pretty much the same, which is probably not a good trait to have, because you can't presume everybody's the same.
No, but it's a protected one. So be kind to yourself.
I was just going to say, I suppose I do it to protect myself, so then I can prepare and know what to do.
Okay, so then, if people did react the same way as your mother, what would you know about them?
That they were not a nice person and that I shouldn't be around them. They're not safe.
Exactly. So they're not safe. So you know then, if someone reacts like that you need to remove yourself from their company.
Yeah.
Because if someone reacts like that to you making a very small, maybe potential mistake, which in this situation is not a reality because you can't make that mistake. But if someone reacted to you making a very small mistake with anger, scorn and abandonment, shame, humiliation, and all the other things, that is about them and 100% not about you. Right?
Yeah.
Someone who treats you like that is the problem, not you. Making mistakes
But I think it's me. I've caused that. And then I've got to make it better. You know, I suppose it's people pleasing.
Yeah. Do you know why
Maybe
you do that? Have you figured out that kind of
to keep
connection?
myself safe.
Yeah. Yeah. To protect yourself from the abandonment and the rejection. But do you know why you feel that responsibility for other people's emotional kind of responses to you?
I know in my case it was because I had to look after my mum's emotional needs and their
Yeah.
relationship. So I presume it's something to do with that.
Well, see, when you were talking about like the photos and things, and she was saying, "You've ruined my whole day. You've ruined the whole day," and then would punish you, sulk, stonewall. What she was telling you was you have omnipotent power over my behavior. Do you remember I said earlier about teaching you that you had full control over how she treated you?
Yeah.
That's that playing out in these relationships as an adult now.
All right.
That you have a belief. And there's a really funny little way I can reframe this, and people can react one of two ways with it. So I'm going to do it and then we'll see how you go. But the omnipotent power that is given to a child who hears, "You've made me angry, you've made me sad, you've made me feel X, Y, Z." It teaches a child they influence and impact everybody, and that they have this omnipotent power over everybody's emotional responses, and therefore they have to shrink themselves and like smooth all their own edges off so that they have minimal impact on anybody at all. And that if someone treats them badly, it's their own fault because they didn't manage that person's feelings well enough. But if we flip that over and look at it from the other angle of, it's a little bit arrogant to think that you have that power. Right?
Yeah.
Right? There's a sort of grandiosity even in it. Like I'm a superhero. I can control how everyone feels. Now, what does that feel like for you?
Kind of horrified.
Go and tell me a bit more. Say a bit more.
Because you don't want to be like your toxic parents, even though you probably will pick up traits. I would hate to be anything like her.
But you're
So it
not
kind of
being
scares me.
You're not being like her in that. What you're doing is the complete opposite. You're
Okay.
shrinking yourself so that, and you're minimizing your needs, your wants, your desires, your preferences, your boundaries, everything. So you have as little impact emotionally on other people. She was the total opposite, right? But the belief that you have at the core of that behavior is that you get to decide how other people feel. And that is the bit that is the bit where I was saying is a bit arrogant, right?
Oh, yeah.
So now when we flip it there, when you see that bit, what do you think of that?
I can understand why I did it.
I do too.
Yeah.
100%. You were taught to, apart from anything else, you were conditioned to it. But now as an adult with that knowledge that it's maybe a little bit grandiose, maybe it's a little bit arrogant to think that you have that omnipotent power, does it help you let it go a little bit or not?
No, definitely. And I think it's something what I need to work on as well, you know, because I do kind of think that I can make people laugh and smile by doing jokes, because that's what I used to do for my mum, that if she was in mood or a bad day, that I would do like I call the jazz hands, and I used to get her happy. And if I got her happy, I got less abuse. So I can see why I do this, because it's works for me.
Yeah, and you became a performing monkey for her.
Yeah.
She made you so responsible for her emotional experience, well-being, all of it. Her state. And so you knew that if you performed properly, you would get less abuse.
Yeah.
And now that's coming into every other relationship. If I can make them happy, they won't hurt me.
Yeah.
But at what cost, Charlotte?
It's to me, isn't it? It's my cost.
And what is that? Do you know? Got any ideas what that might be? What price you pay?
Yeah. I don't want to be that person.
What do you lose by doing that? Making everybody else happy all the time.
It makes me happy that I can make a difference.
Is there ever a place where it becomes going?
I think people will like me. If I do this, they'll like me. If I just be me, they won't like me because I automatically presume that people don't like me. Look quite negative on myself, which is what my mum's always said to me. So I can see why I do this.
There's something desperately sad about that. I'll be the entertainer so they will like me. I won't be the real me because they won't like the real me.
Yeah.
But that keeps reinforcing the narrative of I can't show who I am. And when we do that, so this is people pleasing kind of 101, is the reason we do all these people pleasing behaviors is to hide ourselves. So we're everything to everyone to protect ourselves, to keep relationships. We keep ourselves quiet, our needs quiet, our preferences, everything. So we avoid abandonment and keep these relationships, right? So that we can stay loved. The real difficulty with that is that we're never going to be loved if we're always in that state. And do you know why?
Because you're not showing the real you, you're acting.
Yeah. So if the real you is never seen, how can anybody really love you?
Yeah, nail on the head.
How are you feeling right now? Just, you can tell me your physical state, your emotional, if you can connect to it. What?
I think it's sad. I think it's sad that as a child, I've had to learn these, I don't know what you call it, tools
Coping
to
mechanisms.
to keep myself safe.
Yeah.
And I'm still seen as the person who's in the wrong.
Right. You're wrong for protecting yourself.
Yeah.
You're wrong for saying no. And that sums up the entirety of your childhood, right?
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
wrong for not tolerating the abuse.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that sensation we were talking about with your chest. Is it still there or has it shifted to something else now?
It's gone now. It's kind of disappeared.
Okay. What about the sadness that you were feeling a moment ago?
I still feel sad. It feels like a deep core sadness, to the bone as such, and it's a grief, like a grief,
It is
I
a grief.
suppose it is a grief, isn't it? Grief in your childhood and parents you've been given and what you should have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes me sad. And I feel like I do need to cry to kind of let it all out. But I haven't cried once over this, been no contact and, throughout the last 2.5 years. I don't know if I kind of think I don't want them to win because I've always had that. I can't show them emotions even though they can't see me and they don't know what's happening. I'm like, I won't allow them to get me upset, but then I'm like a ticking time bomb.
Well, there's something really interesting, isn't it? I won't allow them to get me upset. And yet it would be more than normal to be upset about your parents abusing you. And that's not about letting them win. It's almost actually holding them accountable, showing them the devastating impact they've had on you.
If you're scared of rejection, of saying no, have no idea how to trust people, you're not alone, and you don't have to heal alone either. That's what the Hub is for. It's a membership community designed for survivors just like you. Every month, we dive into powerful courses, we hold live calls, and connect in a supportive, understanding space so you can break free from the past and build healthy, fulfilling relationships. Maybe it's time to stop surviving and instead start thriving. Visit jointhehub.ac today using the code POD20 to get £20 off your first month's membership. I can't wait to see you there. Take care. Bye.
So I'd like to offer to try a little exercise with you, and we can cut this out altogether. We don't have to do this, and I'm not going to allow it to go anywhere dangerous or anything like that. So if you're up for it, we can try it. If you want to stop it at any point, you just stop and we will stop, okay?
Okay,
How do you feel about that?
let's do it.
Okay. So if you think about sadness, that deep core grief, sadness to the bone, where do you feel that in your body?
Probably really my chest, like
Right,
deep in my
in the same
lungs.
place?
Yeah,
So in that kind of zone there. And is it a similar thing of the weight or is it different?
no, it's same as the weight.
Interesting. So I'm going to ask you loads of questions. They're going to seem really left field and odd and weird. And if you would just try and go with it, that would be really amazing.
Yeah.
If you need clarification, by all means, ask for it, obviously. So the weight on your chest, it's a similar sort of thing as the stress weight that we talked about before.
Yes.
If it was an object, what kind of object would it be? Or a being or, a person?
Like a boulder, a big heavy stone.
Okay. What kind of boulder is it? Is it like smooth, rough? Is it a perfect shape or is it a raggedy thing?
Grey, rough stone.
Grey, rough stone. And what kind of shape is it?
Round.
Round. Is it kind of that kind of perfect round but rough, or is it got chips and bits, lumps out of it, or is it what kind of?
It's the perfect round and rough.
And rough.
Like a demolition ball.
Oh, okay, a bit like a wrecking ball, like in my silence. Okay, so
That's
then I got you. So then how big is it compared to?
It's massive, like a meter.
Like a meat, so it's massive.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's rough. Is it hot or cold or neither?
Probably neither.
Okay, and does it change in texture at all? Is there anything that makes it change in texture?
No, it's just kind of rough and lumpy. Or look like it's cracked.
Okay. Does it have, you said it was grey, is it all like uniform grey or is there different coloured greys?
All uniforms.
All uniform. What kind of grey? Dark, light? How dark are we going?
Like a graphite.
Okay. And so it's rough. When you say rough, is it like sandpaper rough or is it different type of texture?
It's kind of like when you have a drought and like the riverbed goes all cracked and like flaky. It's kind of, it's like that.
So if you were to rub your hand over it, would it flake off bits of it?
No, because it's more solid. It's like a solid stone, but it has that cracking detail.
Okay. And then is it attached to anything? Or is it just the boulder on its own?
Just a boulder on its own.
Okay. So we've got a grey boulder, like a metre wide. I'm doing this and it's actually like this big. It's circular and it's rough, but it's cracked like a riverbed in a drought. Is it hollow or is it solid inside?
I presume it's solid.
You get to choose what feels right.
Okay. Solid.
Solid. And so if you were going to crack it open, what would it look like inside?
It'd be the same inside as it is outside.
So that would kind of rough texture all the way through?
Yeah.
And the same colour as well.
Yeah.
Does it get bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
What makes it get bigger?
Probably I don't know, like a build-up of it.
Okay.
I don't know, more things getting on it.
So do things go and like live inside it? Or does it
Yeah,
kind of
so
get bigger with like layers being added to the outside? How does it get bigger?
layers added onto the outside, so it's getting bigger and bigger.
Is there ever a point where it gets so big that it explodes and like something else happens to it?
I suppose it's just, it gets too heavy that you can't hold it, deal with it, or breathe with it.
And then what happens?
You try and push it up, but you can't. So I suppose it smothers you, takes over and stops you from breathing because you're doing tiny breaths because you can't do your normal breaths because of the strain and the weight of it.
Okay, I'm going to just ask you to use I rather than you, because this is something that we do to distance ourselves from emotion, is say you feel instead of I feel like. So
Okay.
can you try saying that again for me? Like when it gets bigger, what happens? But using the I statement.
It gets heavier and heavier to the point that I can't hold it up
Okay.
and I can't breathe properly with it. The normal big breaths are tiny, tiny little breaths because you're trying to get oxygen any way you can.
Okay. So when it's getting that big, it starts suffocating you. You
Yeah.
can't carry it.
No,
How do you move with it on you when it's that size?
you can't. You're held down.
I.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
you're good, you're good. It's just I can't.
I
Can you try
can't.
again? Okay.
Yep, hold it. I can't hold it up. It's pinning me down.
Okay. So you can't hold it up. It pins you down, so it keeps you frozen in place. But you
Yep.
can't breathe either.
It's
So
panicky.
it's panicky. Okay, good. If it had a voice, what would it say to you?
Do you mean as in, I don't know.
Just literally that question. What would it say if it had a voice?
I'd see it as being hostile.
It would be hostile to you.
Yeah, and angry and
What would it-
evil.
Angry, evil, hostile.
It
Anything
would
else?
be, I suppose, what I've always had, you'll never achieve anything. You're an awful person. You're nasty. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve happiness.
Whose voice is that?
It's punishing me.
Okay. This is really interesting because this is sadness speaking to you with vitriol. And you said a moment ago that it's panicky. What's happening for you right in this moment? What are you feeling?
I feel like I could sob actually. I feel like a lumps in my throat, and I do feel, I feel kind of like broken. I feel like sob kind of.
What would it be like to let those out? Those sobs.
I'm making myself vulnerable.
And what would happen then?
I'm opening myself to being attacked.
Okay. And then what would happen?
I would then end up, I don't know, being punished or belittled or shamed or guilted. And I
then
don't want to be that person anymore.
No. You don't want to be little you anymore.
No, I want to be happy and feel confident. Be the
Okay.
better person, be the person I wasn't.
How are you feeling right now?
You know, it's awful. I feel like I'm broken. That's what I feel. I just feel utter sadness, and So I feel sorry for the child me, that I did the best I could.
Mhm.
And I wish I could just go back to her and tell her she's all right and you will do all right and you'll end up turning it around and being happy.
Okay.
I wish
So,
as well that I had that ability to tell my mum what I know now,
Mhm.
even though I know it's pointless because they don't listen and
Yeah.
they'll do reflective blame, but I do feel like I need to get it off my chest. But yeah, I do. I feel gutted. I feel sad.
What's it like to feel sad?
It's nice in a way to feel with my emotions, but it's also kind of scary because I know what can happen.
Right. When you said about the ball being panicky, what I heard was a scared little person saying, "Don't feel things. We're going. Don't do this. That's going to get us in so much trouble. Don't do it. I'm making you scared, so don't feel this. And I'm going to be hostile and angry because then you might listen to me."
Yeah.
So if we were to imagine that big ball, this very big, dominating, suffocating, kind of concrete, rough, all-consuming ball was actually a small child, what might we say to it? What might it need to hear?
You're loved. You're going to be all right. People will care for you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't you.
Anything else?
I'm sorry that it's happened to you. You didn't deserve this.
And what might that ball say back?
Be nice if it says sorry.
Who says sorry? The ball? Or
Yeah, the fall.
why is the ball saying sorry?
Because it shouldn't be doing that to me.
What's it doing?
It's trapping me.
Trapping you? Does it
Yeah,
know it's asleep?
Because it's stopping me from breathing and moving.
What does the ball think it's doing?
Nothing. It
Nothing
probably
at all.
doesn't realise the harm it's causing.
No. But it's scared. The ball is scared. And it's freezing you. So what do you think it might be doing?
I don't know.
If I said to you it might be protecting you, what would you think?
I wouldn't have thought of that in a million years.
No. But now I've said it, what do you reckon?
It makes sense. It's kind of like a light bulb moment.
That's landing for you, that hits something.
Yeah.
So if you were to think of that ball, if you were to turn towards it and say, "Thank you for protecting me, but I don't need you to do that anymore. We're safe now. We don't have to put up with that anymore. I'm in charge." How would that feel?
It would feel good, but kind of scary at the same time because I'm taking control back again. And
Right.
it's new skills for me.
Yeah. It is good.
But
It is
also,
scary.
but also be quite amazing as well to do, something for me, which will be transforming.
So could you imagine now just saying to the ball, just those things, "Thank you for trying to protect me"?
Yeah.
What was that? What happened there?
I don't know. I'm kind of struggling to say it.
Shall I? It's okay. You don't have to say it out loud. You can say it in your head. You can do it as however you need.
Thank you for keeping me safe.
Right. What does that feel?
It feels like a big wave's come over me, like a release, but also kind of, I don't know, it's like a weight off my shoulders kind of feeling.
In a good way?
Yeah.
Good. What are your thoughts right now?
I don't know. I'm kind of, my head's just, when I think of stuff, it's just blank. It's weird.
That's okay. We just pause and let this sort of sink in a bit.
I think all I feel is sadness and upset and tiredness of I can't do this anymore. I need to be in a better place and move on.
Okay. What would it take to be in a better place and move on?
Yeah.
What would it take to be in a better place and move on? What do you need for that to happen?
I suppose letting go of the past, moving
What does
on.
that actually mean? What does letting go of the past actually mean?
I suppose letting go of the hurt. I've still got that attachment of, which I suppose it's kind of a catch-22 you are going to do because it's your parents. But I feel, for me to move on, I do need to let go and I suppose put it behind me.
Tell me what that actually means, though, to let go. How do you do that?
How I would probably do it is building walls again, which isn't the right.
Okay.
A wall between me and them.
Okay. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing to protect you. It's just whether or not everyone's on the other side of the wall, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that we can get ourselves caught in a loop in is I'm going to use your language just as the example of I have to let go and move on. But when I say to somebody, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? How do you do that? How will you know that that's happened? Very often they don't have a response for me. They don't know what it is. And so I suppose what I'm maybe trying to bring into your awareness or a reflection piece for you to take away is, what is it that would look like? How would you know that you have moved on and let go? What would have changed?
I suppose it's one of the things you don't really know.
So
because it can always happen.
What can always happen?
It's continuous. It's always there.
What is?
The problem.
What's the problem?
My parents.
Okay. And when you say they're always there, it's continuous, what does that mean?
That it's like a shadow over you. That, are you doing the right thing, going no contact? Was I wrong? Was it abuse? Because you go through so many emotions when you go no contact. It's my partners have to sit down with me many a time and say, the pros and cons, and you're doing this for you and it is right. But I've been so well trained that I always have to look after them and their needs are more important than my own, that I struggle to think about me and not always prioritize them.
Okay. So letting go would be being able to prioritize yourself first, not consider them, not be scared of them or their behavior or what they might do next.
All of the above.
Okay. And there's something about how do you get to that space?
I don't know. I am stuck on that.
And you said you've had 2 years of counselling?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you manage to access emotion there, or did you not?
We didn't. It was more, it was brilliant, but not on the same level as yourself. And I could tell the differences from listening to your podcast and how what you are doing with me. It was more about explaining about narcissism and scenarios and what those meant rather than helping me to cry or to break it down. So I don't know if I need more counselling, because I felt like all I was doing was talking about scenarios of what had happened and what it's caused and what it means, rather than deep down in my heart sorting that out, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. And that's something that we can get really stuck in at the beginning of the kind of process of all of this, is the stories. And they're very important. It's very important that you tell your stories and you talk about how this thing happened and then that thing happened. But there is a point at which those things should be gateways to the emotion, right? And that should then become the feeling. And it seems like there's been a misstep in that space for you. Is that fair, do you think?
Definitely.
Okay. So that exercise that we did with the ball is an embodied kind of emotion experience. Like, it's a way of accessing emotion when we're not able to do it naturally because of what someone like you has experienced. Essentially, what I've heard is that your emotions became a huge threat, which in turn became a huge trigger. And so they get tied up in this space of self-punishment, as in when the great ball was being so mean to you, it was trying to protect you. It wasn't about being mean. It was trying to keep you safe. Because if I say these things, I know your reaction will be to lock it down. But if I'm kind to you and say, "Oh, it's really sad. Why are they being so mean to us?" You might cry and then we might get in trouble. So I'm trying my best to protect you from yourself, right? So if you were to do that exercise with lots of different emotions, using like a feelings wheel or whatever it might be, and really notice where you feel it in your body before trying to really kind of process it in that kind of emotional sense. I mean, my kind of belief is that all emotions are physical anyway, but we might not know what to name them. And actually, all emotions are subjective because we learn our emotions from the person who teaches us what an emotion is. So normally that would be your parent or caregiver would say to you, "Oh, are you feeling sad, darling?" when they see you crying. And you then therefore learn, well, if I'm crying, I'm sad. And, oh, you're so happy if you're laughing. I know I'm happy because I'm laughing, right? But when we grow up in these environments, we just learn to disconnect from our feelings. And they not only become threatening, they become triggers. And so that then when we're experiencing them, like I'm on the edge of crying, I can feel it being there, I can well up, but then I just shut it back down because it's a trigger. Because it takes you straight back to having your photograph taken and your mother then punishing you for days for reacting to her abuse.
Right.
As though you shut it down and don't feel it. And in fact, it's a very clever way that you've survived. Very clever. But now it's not working for you.
Yeah.
It's time to stop trying to change it. And it might be you need a bit of extra help doing that with therapy. But it's clearly there. So it's not that it's not there.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right that a couple of times there you got very close to crying?
Yeah. Yeah.
What held you back from letting it out?
Just what I always do, just to put a blank stop on it.
What was, because this environment feels a bit unnatural to expect you to kind of let that out here. I'd like, first time you cried about it on like international podcast, it's probably not going to happen reasonably, right? So then the kind of stopping that is sort of appropriate for this environment.
Yeah.
But I wonder what it would have taken for you to like stop the stopping, as it were. Do you know what that might look like?
Yeah, I mean, I'll well up and then I'll have the tightness in my neck and I'll let out like one sob and then it's just like I just pull it back. It's just like I've completely taken control and then it's just back to be not. And then, or if I do cry, I'll do it in secret. So even if we're watching a film and it's upsetting, my partner will be sobbing away and I'll have tears rolling down my face, but I'm kind of just showing a blank emotion and trying to hide the tears to kind of show. But I feel like I need to absolutely do a wail
Mm.
cry and let it really, but it's that what I'm stopping, because I suppose when I did that, that's when my mum belittled me.
You want the letterbox cry,
Yeah.
and you want to be able to do it freely,
Without judgment.
without judgment, without anything. So what this might be is that it might be easier to cry for something or someone else first, maybe that is relatable. So it might be accessing this kind of on the slide, like you're coming in from the side rather than straight in from top. But you're going in from the side and you're watching a film or a movie. And maybe you're saying to your partner, if I squeeze your leg, it means I'm crying and I need you to look at me. Right? And it might just be about giving yourself some parameters and also talking to your inner child, the concrete ball, the big grey ball, about how safe you are to cry now. Right?
Yeah.
Thanking it for its protection, but also then telling it that we're allowed to cry now, we're safe.
Yeah.
Does that feel manageable?
It does, yeah, because I also need to do it as well.
Okay, but let's take that pressure off. Because there's a forcing of something. There's a controlling of something. Let's remove all of that. Let's not collude with expecting you to be somebody that they've determined you should be. Let's just allow it to exist, you to exist as you are.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's right, and you're correct, yes.
Okay. When I say, how does that feel? You don't need to give me a feeling word, but can you feel it anywhere in your body? Any sensation in your body when I say, how does that feel?
No.
Okay. Can you notice whether it's good or bad?
Good.
Good.
Positive.
Okay. Excellent. That is how we start accessing emotion as well. We go from, is it a good or bad feeling? Do I want more or less of it? Right? And we just peel it back so slowly. We're not going in to start identifying how I feel when I think something is repugnant or, other big, fat, fancy feeling words. We're literally starting on good, bad, positive, negative. And then we might look at sad, happy. I call these the primary the primary color emotions: sad, happy, anger, scared. Which one of those does it feel closest to? Or is it more than one? My guess is that scared is always going to be in there.
Yeah.
Apart from happiness. Although it might have a bit, because if it was used as a performing monkey bit, then there might have been a fear attached to, if I'm not happy enough, if I don't make her happy enough, there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
Okay. Charlotte, I'm going to ask you one more time. How are you feeling right now?
I still struggle.
Good or bad?
I do feel sad with it,
Good, okay.
but I
So it's
kind of
not
feel
good that you're sad, but good that you can identify it.
yeah. But also kind of positive that what we've done here feels like these lights at the tunnel, and I kind of feel that kind of warm sensation that there's hope and it will be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still struggle with my emotions.
No, it's not going to fix straight away. But if you keep doing that exercise that we just did,
Yeah.
it'll get easier and easier and easier to identify your feelings. And that in turn is going to help you build your boundaries, your identity. So you need to know how you feel about things to know whether or not it's part of who you are, right?
Yeah.
So I know we've spent an awful lot of time on this today. And I'm wondering how you feel about that fact, and whether or not there's anything you haven't got from me that you want to get from me before we finish.
I just want to say thank you. It's been amazing.
Oh, good.
It's nice to be heard and actually have somebody on our side as such.
Oh,
I still kind of struggle with switching off, being busy 24/7 and having to be busy. How do
well,
you stop your head from whirling?
you have to work out how it benefits you. And one of the reasons people who are traumatized have very busy brains and feelings, and bodies, is to avoid feeling things. So one of the things I might invite you to do is sit in complete stillness and silence and notice what happens to your body, your thoughts, what comes out. You could put your phone or any kind of device that can on record so that you can just say out loud what it is, the thoughts that come into your head. So you've got a record of them. So, because nothing to write on, just sitting still. And I know that this for you would be agony to do. So you can also put a timer on so that you're not like, oh my God, how long do I have to do this? But it's sitting until thoughts start coming into your head and what they're saying, recording them, maybe then writing them out, like so you can see. And what is it you're trying to avoid thinking and feeling? And then, of course, there was the conditioning behind that too, of the fear of what happens if you're still, that you're not good enough, that you get punished, abused, humiliated, shamed. So that both of those things might be going on. And then, of course, there is the I'm always going to throw in, because that's my kind of thing, but also the idea of ADHD might be in there as well. So, if that's worth investigating for you, it might be worth doing a screener or something as well. But
Yeah.
at the beginning, at this point where there's still all this emotion to process, I would, before you went for an assessment, encourage you to look at what thoughts and feelings you might be trying to avoid with that behavior to start with.
Perfect. Thank you.
That is my absolute pleasure. So I'm going to ask you one more time, anything that you want to ask me before we finish?
No, it's been perfect. Thank you ever so much. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. I mean, Charlotte, what a joy to be able to pull that with you. And thank you for just trusting me and going with it. I know those questions can throw people off a little bit when I do them. I'm like, just throwing, oh, what color is it? And they like, what? I don't know, like black, like what? And so I really appreciate you just digging in and going with me and sharing that with me and everyone else who is listening, because that was incredibly powerful. And I'm very honored and very privileged to have witnessed it.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Oh, I wouldn't go that. Anyway, I don't know my own discomfort coming out. I'm telling on my own self. Thank you so much, Charlotte. And thank you, of course, to all our listeners. And I guess, as ever, all that remains to be said is take care. Bye.
Bye.